So you guys want to learn something?
Yes.
No.
I'd like to learn.
That's good, because you're not going to learn anything today.
Oh.
Today is very different, I think, than most of our lectures. I do prepare a little bit for each class, but today I actually prepared for a lot, but you're still going to learn nothing. So I'm not sure how you guys should feel about that. Maybe that's a badge of honor. But the topic is, as many of you know, what I really like about Go. And for this, I actually made a list. Like, there's a list of the things that I really like about Go. There's actually 10 things, in fact. We're going to go them down one at one. I am going to sort of lecture these to you, just as a lot of these are my own thinking, just sort of coming from studying the game. If you guys want to jump in with your own comments, ideas, just tack on your own experiences to some of these things, please do. Your own fun trivia facts. Go right ahead. So let's start the list here of Nick Sibicky's things he likes most about Go. And a lot of this actually comes, some of you guys know I'm a semi-professional game designer. My first real game's coming out this summer. I already got my cash advance, so it's all good, but you should go buy it anyway.
It's an amazing game.
Andrew played it.
I played it this weekend.
Andrew played it.
I second that.
Thank you, Evan. Evan was actually one of the playtesters from the publisher before he got a real job. Anyway, so a lot of my thinking about Go comes from this idea of a game designer and from game development and playtesting lots of games. I played several hundred different games in the past few years. So I played a lot of games, so a lot of just my thinking comes from other games, which makes me realize how awesome Go is. So the very first thing, anyway, on this list, is Go is incredibly simple, right? And I don't mean to put Go down, right? But the concept of it is so incredibly just stupid kind of simple. You really do get the kind of feeling that, a couple kids in a playground could come up with the rules of Go without, thinking very hard. It's sort of believed, I've heard people talk about different quotes before, that, if there are aliens in the universe, right, surely they must know how to play Go, right? It just seems so universal. And, this is what's so great about it, is most games, I think, that you guys encounter in your daily life, at least games that you appreciate as games and not some advertising bullshit that is marketed to you as a game, you guys have, there's usually a complicated rule set, games that you're interested in, right? Think about video games. Video games have pretty complicated rules if you actually broke it down. They're presented in a fairly linear narrative usually, but they're pretty complicated. War games, if you know anything about the modern state of war games and Euro games, those are really complicated. If you think about social games, some are pretty simple, but I know some party games that are pretty challenging and hard and not quite as simple as Go. So this is the point, right? With Go, we have this incredibly simple premise. Surround your opponent one at a time. But this leads to this most amazing breakthrough, right, with Go. And this is sort of point number 2, right? Point number 1, Go is really simple. Okay, that's really important for any good game. Point number 2, this goes to almost infinite complexity. And this is the really just mind-boggling thing about Go. Of all the 10 things on the list, this is perhaps one of the most important. It's sort of believed that there are more variations in a game of Go than there are atoms in the known universe. Ever thought about this? That's a huge number of variations. Some of you guys may have heard this before. It's one of the most varied games in terms of just the number of outcomes. I want to get my notes open. I had some notes, other fun facts we could say about the complexity of Go. No recent apps. My phone crashed. Let's see, what was I supposed to be saying so far? What I really like about Go.
I'll fill in a detail for
kids,
you.
robots. You fill in a detail, yeah? You got a detail?
The number of atoms in the universe is what? About
I don't know the number.
10 to the 95th.
10 to the 95th? Good.
Big number.
Yeah, and the variations of Go?
10 to the 170 something.
There you go.
A really big number.
Really big number. Is that taking into account all the parallel situations? And
Tries to.
tries to.
Whether it does, who knows?
Okay. Well, I have a name for this, and this is I think a name you guys all know. But this idea of having something very simple go to this really complex, really varied and rich kind of texture, I think goes being elegant. This is sort of just my own personal definition. When something is elegant, that means we're taking this complexity and we've actually boiled it down to the most basic components, right? The most basic, easy to understand bytes. And from it, we get this huge diversity, this huge emphasis on variation and just possibilities. And I think that's, of all the things I like about Go, I like to think about just the sheer number of possibilities. At the same time, right, we start with this really simple premise. We go to this really complex universe, right? In terms of like just number of atoms, we're talking about huge, right? 10 to the 177th, I'll quote Bill on that. But at the same time,
Atoms is only 95th.
right? Okay, but the Go is 1 to set 1. Yeah, okay, 10. The numbers, big numbers. But at the same time, how many results are there to every game?
One result each game.
All right, depending on how full Andrew's mouth is, I guess. Right? We could say there's no result games too, but I'll say in a proper game of Go that's played from beginning to end, I'll say 2 and a little fraction of I'll give some credence to the infinite co-loop, right? No result idea. Okay, but really it all boils down to just 2 results, right? So we go from this incredibly simple, just basic rule set.
The universe ends.
The universe ends in a triple co. They're supposed to be harbingers of doom, right? Someone plays a triple co game, that's bad. That's a bad omen, right? It's not one of the 2 allowed endings to a Go game, right? But you get this really complex situation, and at the end of the game, black wins or white wins. That's it, right? So really, we're talking about this beautiful process more than anything else, right? We have something really simple, really basic. It grows, it flowers, and it's returned back to its original.
Yeah, but that's just because
simplicity.
we defined it that way. We've decided to think of it.
That's fine, but again, this is about Go. I'm not talking about the laws of nature per se. I'm just saying Go as something we created as a metaphor for how we think and how we interact with the world. Yeah.
That makes me think of one of the reasons I really like Go, which is that you can have a very simple premise, but people add a lot of the complexity and texture to Go.
We gotta, hold on, that's coming up. That's
Things
number
are very
7.
simple until people get involved, and then all of a sudden there's like Super Co, and like weird, bizarre, like 8-bet 4 in the corner is alive, these like crazy edge cases that people get themselves wrapped around the axle.
Right, and infinite co-threats.
Right. It has nothing to do with the rules of the game, which are very simple. It has all to do with how we interpret.
Well, but I think you extrapolate the rules into those things too. So,
yeah, totally.
So people discover this. I sort of think that like a scientist, right, the rules of nature are already there, and as a scientist you're sort of discovering those hidden laws, those hidden rules. So.
People are making them up.
Well, yeah.
But they're hidden.
But the thing we made up is so basic.
They're hidden concepts that we discovered.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's super cool, isn't it?
Within our own, human, mental limitations, I suppose. I mean, there might be a different sets of concepts that work just as well.
Probably. But I haven't seen a game or I haven't played a game that, that happens nearly to the extent of Go, right? Where you start with this really small thing, and then it grows this huge large thing, and then it's simplified again. And there's some, throughout these numbers, I'm going to give you like not counter examples, but things I hate about Go, or as well as things I love about Go. But how many of you have seen A Beautiful Mind? All right, this isn't something I hate about Go specifically, right? But the writer, the writers for the film, John Nash, right? He's playing all these Go games, and there's this one scene where he like flips the board and he's all upset. And might have been a deleted scene too. There's a couple of the scenes are deleted that have more Go stuff in it. But he says something to the effect of, "My play was perfect. I should have won that game." Right, and every Go player in the room just sort of laughs. Right, it's just what?
How can you say that?
Yeah, exactly. Like every Go player was essentially just went, "All right, everything else in this film I can't buy." Right, it's such an absurd statement from the mind view of a Go player. Right, to know all these different possibilities, to decide that you are the one that should have won. I saw this thing online. Somebody had recreated the board position from one of the Go games that John Nash thought he was supposed to win, and his position is terrible.
Well,
it's the worst.
Not to mention, if you look at what's on the board, he's got like a
stones.
giant clump of stones, and like he dies because he misses an Atari. It's like your play was Man.
Yeah, completely absurd, right? So, I hate that. Sometimes
I think that comes down to the difference between kind of pure strategies and actual implementation.
Yeah, but I took it as a
The implementation is a part of the game.
Sure, but the position, even if he didn't miss the Atari, I think he would have lost. I mean, he was getting frustrated anyway, so it didn't even matter the fact that he missed the Atari. He was supposed to lose. At least if you look at the position from the actual movie. So I mean, that was a bad thing about that movie. And about Go is, right, often people don't realize how vast this world expands and then contracts again, right? Go from nothing to this hugely infinite, nearly infinite possibility back down to one result again, two results, black wins, white wins, right? And that's a great process. That's just like breathing in, breathing out. There's something just so human about, just that process, right? Starting from nothing, growing, going back again, from dust you are to dust you shall return, whatever all that metaphysical stuff is, that's Go, okay? So there's sort of point one and point two. All right, simple, complexity, back, elegance. Oh yeah, I thought of this today actually. I was thinking about the atoms, that number of atoms idea. I was thinking about quantum physics. Anyone a quantum physicist? No, that's good. Maybe someday. All right, but if you take this idea of like Schrodinger's cat, right? You have all these particles, and you guys understand. Have you heard this before? And we can measure sort of the position or the velocity, but not really both. We have this uncertainty principle, and so we can set up these artificial contrived situations where the cat is neither dead nor alive, which is a pretty complex situation to think about. Or think about like the double-blind slit experiment, or where these single photons at a time are traveling through both slits at the same time, and then make a light pattern over here. It's only one photon. Well, once you observe it, right? Once you observe the cat or the photon, what happens? Anyone know?
Collapses to a single.
Yeah, collapses to a single result again, right? So you take this really just simple idea, this one photon or this one molecule. Again, if you heard the word quantum physics and you fell asleep, that's fine. I'll tell you when to wake back up. But you take this one thing, right? It goes into this giant, complex whole, process, I guess. And then once it's observed by humans again, once that intervention by humans happens, right, it collapses back to whatever observable state it is. At least that's sort of metaphysical quantum physics theory, I guess. Quantum physics theory, whatever it is. I think it's pretty neat.
But what does that have to do with Go?
That's the same thing for a Go game.
Really?
No.
How?
How?
It's not the same thing at all.
Sure.
What are you talking about?
There's no key for
Well, clearly, right now on this board,
There's no all of your positions collapse. I've seen all of them.
right now, black wins, obviously, right? As John Nash concluded in A Beautiful Mind, right? There's no way black can lose this game.
Alex play is perfect.
Whereas
He hasn't had time to mess up.
For Go.
Well, then we get a glimpse of the universe flat.
Right? And then
There's a story about that.
there's a story about that. What's the story?
A god challenges another god to a game of Go.
Yeah.
You draw for black and white.
Are these omniscient gods?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some
Both of them.
Okay.
Black puts a stone on the board. White thinks for 5 minutes and resigns.
See, clearly, black should win. Right? We need some sort of uncertainty principle, though. We need some sort of complexity to happen, right? We don't know, we can't actually keep track.
Even I can do that.
I wanted to be sure.
Black should win until we change Comey, then white wins.
We can't actually keep track of all the elements on the board, right? So what happens? Well, as uncertainty takes over, right? We have this Schrodinger's cat situation. We don't know if the cat's alive or dead, or your group on the bent four, whatever scenario you have, right? You don't know if it's alive or dead until the end of the game, when all these positions slowly come around to rectify themselves, naturally and elegantly from the rules.
And they collapse.
And they collapse, yeah, sometimes literally, right? They just fall off the board, right? So just, Go is deeper than you think. Go is a deeper metaphor for reality than you realize. Dan doesn't buy it, but that's okay.
He just doesn't realize it.
He just doesn't realize it, Dan.
Yeah.
All right. He'll come around. I'm going to start with another bad quote. I hate this quote. Okay, but this is something that is often said about Go. But I'm going to take from it something I really like about it. So this is number 3. We're on number 3. Okay. Third thing. Go is a left and right brain hemisphere activity. Have you heard this before? John's going, no? Oh. All right.
It sounds interesting.
Well, this is sort of what what they discover, and they hook people up to like the machines, and they're like, think about Go or play Go, right? They're doing measurements. They're like, you're using both halves of your brain, at least supposedly. You're using a larger percentage of your brain than you would if you would only be using chess. And I think the reason why this is most attributed is that Go sort of invokes your more creative aspects, right? Where chess is much more of a logical if-then-else kind of structure to how you play moves. Go has a lot of places in the game where you go, yeah, there, that feels right. Right, you don't necessarily know why, right? But you have this feeling, right, that you sort of settle, you look around the board, you're trying to keep track of all these different elements. And you yourself as a person come up with, this move in your own brain, which I think is a very different process than if you're trying to find which pawn to advance on a chessboard. Dan, you have a question?
No, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so when they pick people up, now, do both halves light up at the same time in consequence of it being...
I haven't actually seen this done.
Or is it
I
just an average over the course of the whole game?
I plead ignorance on the specifics. Again, I'm just sort of quoting
I was
the...
hoping you had
I didn't prepare enough for today, as much as I prepared for this.
I think the
You didn't prepare for
general abstraction, the art part of it comes out of where you look at the very simple. I mean, I know in my case, maybe it was just the venue where I first started playing, but a lot of the players were programmers, and people that really like programming have a certain kind of bent to their mind, and it's, ooh, we like this really aggravating. The A word, I can't say it right now. But what happens is, it's like tic-tac-toe. You can figure that out real simple, make the rules, whatever. You get to checkers, and also it's too complicated. Chess is more complicated, right? But the point is that you can't keep track of like every possible Joseki for the corner.
Yeah.
So you start developing a feel for it. That's an abstraction of all these particular rules. So you abstract it, you generalize it, and so you got the shift from the very close up, move to the shape.
That's right. And you're trying to think on multiple levels, right? And that's something that's very difficult from a group theory, computerized programming perspective. And I want to talk a little bit about computers because if you guys were alive or playing Go, let's say even as late as really 15 to 20 years ago, computers were abysmal at Go. Like you could be almost as strong as any of you are in this room right now and go up beat a computer program and be like, well, that was fun.
Still can't.
I'm never going to do that. It's too easy, right? It's just beat it into the ground. So for a long time, right, Go has been very different than games like chess and checkers, where you can get a really strong checkers computer player. And I think they have actually solved checkers now. That was 2 years ago, I think.
Somebody died who used to beat the computer.
No.
But not now. Right? I mean, we've solved checkers, right?
Yeah. Solved.
Yes.
Yes.
Defeated.
Checkers has been declared a solved game at a certain notion of solvedness, and I think there's decided there's 40 quadrillion moves
I see.
are possible moves. So
We haven't solved chess yet, but we have reached the point where computers can now beat the best humans. Right? I think that's the current stage of where chess is. Go, really up through the 90s and early 2000s, Go was pretty pitiful. Up through the early 2000s, we got up to somewhere in the single-digit cube kind of range. 2006, there's actually a huge breakthrough with the Monte Carlo techniques. And now we actually have Go programs that are playing somewhere between 4 and 6 dan, which is pretty amazing with these new AI techniques. But still, 4 to 6 dan is not the best level Go playing. If you're a professional Go player, you eat 6 dans for lunch, right? That's breakfast. Maybe we get beat by 6 dans, but that's it. Also, it's more of just a testament to how many different levels of strength there are in a Go game, right? From these different possibilities, there's a huge range of difference. So computer Go is getting much stronger, but just because humans, we don't think about it as this logical task. We don't think about it like many of these other games. It's very hard for us to actually put values on everything to quantify. Computers have an even tougher time with this, right? Or at least as far as our knowledge of how to program a computer has sort of lingered behind. And the fact that computers are still regularly beaten, by human players in the world of Go makes me really happy. I'm going to be really sad when that day comes, when they say they have the equivalent of Deep Blue in the Go world and now beats all the...
Do you think you'll live to see that day?
I do.
Really?
I'm scared now.
Have you played Zen Online?
I haven't played Zen 19. Yeah, I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, you don't do.
What was that?
Dump me.
Up to you.
I saw be a pro. I mean, weakish, young.
Yeah,
pro,
we could, yeah.
Young pro. Killed her. I mean,
Yeah,
some
some
Tanuki,
Yeah.
how'd she die?
It's computers, man. It's soon. It's soon. I have no expertise on the subject of computer, programming AI Go bots. But if I had to venture a guess, I would say, by 2020. Like 7 years.
No, I'm not. Somebody needs to know more about computers. Maybe they need to improve a computer.
It's also a matter of power, because the more memory you have,
Right,
the
the
further
more
ahead
resources.
moves ahead you can. Wow.
Yeah, but if say you only triple the power, then how much? I wonder how much further that'll get the GoPro.
Well, I think it's also just the fact that within, let's see, 7 years ago, all of a sudden we were able to jump up.
Right, but comes to that for 40 years of waiting for a method.
Maybe.
But
we've seen generally technology
The next Monte
increase.
Carlo, advance,
Right.
if there is one.
We're not talking about predicting the future, though. We're talking about things I like. And right now, I like the fact that humans can still be computers that go. Maybe not most of the people in this room.
All right, I like that too. Even though I couldn't beat it.
Okay, but you like that, right? I mean, that validates your existence as a human.
Go team us.
It doesn't validate your existence as a human, as part of the human species.
No. But
Do you watch
but
sports?
I like the fact that they can still beat it. Yeah.
When the Seahawks win, aren't you like, yeah, Seahawks?
I always root against home teams, except for the Yankees.
Except
Wait, of all the teams you
See, that's the exact
choose
opposite.
to root for the Yankees rather than
I want to see the Yankees lose and all home teams win. That'd make me
we know he's just a contrarian.
No.
it's a curmudgeon.
Well, anyway, back to point 3, this idea of both brains and the sense of creativity that it evokes. I think there's one other significant difference is that, and I thought about this a lot more when I was your strength. I think about it a lot less where I am now as a player, as a dominable player, but I thought about it a lot then. And that's the idea of Go as being a construction kind of game where a game like chess is basically mutually destructive, right? Where instead of, basically having the general feeling of you're actually adding things to these different situations. Oh, that went over there. And making the board more complex, right? You're actually taking this complex setup and you're actually gradually simplifying it.
Psychological.
It's very psychological, very interpretive.
Ecological.
Ecological, yeah, sure. So it has this more positive, we'll say positive-minded start, just from the very beginning, just aesthetically. I also used to think when I was your strength that every game, if you stood 3 feet back from it, it looked like a moo cow. So maybe my perspective wasn't as good back then.
A moo
Don't do
cow?
that. A moo cow.
You mean a cow?
Yeah, well, a cow.
Man.
I want to call it a moo cow.
Things I like about
We know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right.
You step back. Oh,
Okay.
that's still something I like
Hey,
about Go.
yeah. My grandparents owned a farm, so when I was a little kid, they take me to the farm, they go, look at the moo cow. And I go, moo cow. That's all.
That kind of
I am moo cow. All right, very good. Number 4, this is another really, really important one, okay, as far as things I like about Go. I love the fact, and this is still an ongoing thing, okay, because you guys and professionals, everyone's still pursuing this, that there are so many unknowns still to this day in Go. And just unknowns just from a very basic rules level. For instance, how much should Comey be worth? We don't really know. Like, we have this guess, but also historically, we've always guessed, we've been much too conservative in our guesses because the more we learn about Go, I think we tend to learn how black can take a better advantage of that first move. And so Comey keeps expanding upward. So we don't actually know, at least in my opinion, if you ask a professional, they'll say, no, Comey is this, maybe. Okay, but at least looking at it from a historical perspective, knowing about everything that I've done for studying the game, we don't really know what Comey should be, right? If Go is perfectly balanced, we don't know. I like that. Another thing, it seems so obvious, but we don't actually know. What's the best first move? This is one I still think about a lot.
Zen problem.
It's the Zen problem, right? The famous Zen problem, right? Of black to win. That's your go problem. We don't know.
Well, I think I've got it.
The Koreans, right, actually think they know.
What do they think?
And this is according to Kim Seong-young, who's a professional nine-dan and famous Korea commentator. He's also disliked, apparently, by a lot of people for his commentary because it's very brash and to the point. But he says, in Korea, this is the move you have to play if you want to win. This is the move you have to play.
That is between 4-4 and 3-4.
That's right.
Okay.
The
Basically meaning
3.54 point.
But Koreans believe, at least this again, I'm extrapolating from this one Korean nine-dan professional who claimed this, that we don't know which one, but we've got it narrowed down to two. If you want to win, you have to play this or this. That is all. This, you lose. This, you lose.
Tengen?
Tengen, definitely lose.
Ah.
Which is really counterintuitive, right? And I like to think that, if there were two gods playing Go, it seems like this has to be the right answer, right? I mean, for black to play and win, like that seems like it has to be the right answer. And I can sort of justify this to myself, at least, if I you say, we're still learning how to play this game, like as a species. So we just haven't learned how to use this move properly yet. I like to think that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Koreans are right. It's one of these two, and that's it. One day we'll solve Go and decide, yep, that's the one. Everyone just play that one, you win. No, that's the correct move.
I saw an article years back about the hardest Go problem, and there's all these there's all sorts of complications, and part of the complication was a ladder going like halfway across the board,
Yeah.
and you had to figure something out about that. So maybe what it is, the perfect Go game is so evenly balanced that in the end there's a ladder, and occupying the center stone is the answer.
Maybe. I mean. Well, obviously that's only one possible scenario. What would have to be accounted for in a perfect game,
Now,
right?
the rest of you just work out the intervening moves.
That's right. That's right.
I've done the heavy lifting.
So this is what I mean by the unknown, right? There's still this sense, I think, of unexplored land. There is this sense of, continents that have not yet been discovered, right? There is this hidden knowledge that is kept from us that we're still trying to discover. And I do like the two gods metaphor, right? Or maybe not playing that move specifically, but if there was a perfect sequence, what would it be, right? That's something that I think a lot of people throughout history, a lot of Go players have meditated on, right? Especially those in the Buddhist lineage tend to look at and think about, right? What would be the path, so to speak. So I like this a lot, right? The fact there's still these unknown things in Go. This is actually going to relate back to an earlier concept I think Andrew and Dan were sort of hinting at, especially Andrew. But Go is what I'm going to describe as having a very non-linear progression to it. And humans, we're always fascinated by like non-linear things. Think about yourself as a kid, and you've got this stick. You go in the woods, you find a stick, and you're like, "Hey, Mom, I found a stick." Right? You got your stick, and as a kid, what do you do to your stick?
Hit something.
You start hitting stuff, and then you break it. Right? And there's this cathartic moment, right? When you break the stick, and you're like a sudden rash, or just a number of emotions sort of overcome you, right? Where like, the stick broke. Should I be sad? Should I be happy? I broke the stick, right? There is this non-linear sense, right? You hit it, the stick bends. You hit it more, the stick bends more. You hit it even more, bye-bye stick. This is like Go. Go is just a bunch of sticks ready to be broken, right? This is, an incredibly non-linear experience. You guys have probably all played a game or games that were very linear in terms of the progression, in terms of how people win the game. Like every round, you go around the board, and if you go around 5 times, you're the winner, right? So you go 1 time around, 2 times around, 3 times around, 4 times around, 5 times 1, hey, you win, right? Whoever does it first is the winner. Very linear. Or maybe it's whoever has the most money, or whoever has the most number of victory points, right? Whatever it is, it's always going in this one direction. There isn't this sense of sudden surprise where all of a sudden that linearity, that prediction, doesn't work out the way you thought it would. And this is just a symptom of going back to that number 2 thing. This is sort of when it first came up of just having too many possibilities for us to keep track of, right? There are just too many complexities, right? We don't understand it. So we're always surprised, right, when something doesn't happen the way it does. I recently read The Go Consultants. That's a John Fairborn published book about, I think the game was played in the 1930s. Anyone know the Go? In 1930s, sometime between Go Seigen combined with, is it Kitani?
It's Go and Kitani.
Yeah, Kitani, right? Yeah.
It's to the old guard.
Well, those are new guard. At
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Against Sego and I don't remember the other one, the other old guard guy. Right, anyway, the four of them play this one game of Go, and the idea is that, again, they're going to try to play the most perfect game that's possible, right? There's like some obscene amount of time to play this game.
It's pair Go, and they're allowed to take time to adjourn and talk it over with their teammates. And the reporters are all listening in the consultation room to what they're saying to each other about the game. That's why it's fascinating.
So it's great. I just ate the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But here's the really the best part about this whole thing was, when two of the players would go back in the room and start deliberating, and they'd look at each other and go, "Huh, I didn't expect our opponents to play there." Right? Like every 3 moves. Right? The opponents would do something that you didn't account for at all. And they'd have to go back to the other room and start from square one. Like these are like 4 of the top professionals at this time period, and they still had no clue. Right, just done. Just have to go back.
I read the book and it really, really surprised me.
Oh, me too, right? Because you think, oh, professional, they're already expecting most things. Is which one? It's just a choice. The only surprise is which one you're going to choose. But no, like every other move was, oh, huh. And the way they write the book is, they didn't want to talk in the actual room where the game was being played, so they'd always have the 2 players just look at each other and go. to go talk about what just happened right on the board, like every other move, okay?
And these are the pros. These are the best pros. Yeah. Amazing.
So this idea of just this non-linear thing, right? These surprises, these expectations that you have that don't ever go the way you want, is constant and just I don't want to say debilitating because that puts it in too negative of terms, but it breaks you down, I think, mentally into just this state of almost being one with the universe or something. You just end up being this thing that's ready for anything, maybe, or you're neurotic like me, and like before you play a stone. The goal is maybe the one with the universe thing, not the neurotic. There. Don't be that way. That's the goal. But I attribute that to the non-linearities, right? Any point your group can break, right? A surprise can be thrown away. A cut might not work out the way you intend. It's just always happening. All right. That's 5. We got 5 down. That's pretty good, right? 5 more. Here we go. 6. This is another. I'm actually going to quote Kim Seong-yong again. This is the famous Korean commentator. I saw him give a lecture, and one of the questions that came up during the lecture, and he kind of talked about for a while afterward, because he thought it was really important, and the crowd was really interested in it for whatever reason. But the difference is between Korean Go and Japanese Go. And specifically, the thing I like about Go in number 6 is that you can think of Go in these 2 very different paradigms. And here are the 2 paradigms. And according to Kim Jong-yong, in Korea, Go is like a sport, right? Go, a lot of people compare the Korean Baduk channel, right, the Korean Go channel, to the American Golf channel. Same kind of idea, right? You get sponsors and they show games playing, and mostly old people with a lot of time on their hands watch it. It's that sort of market. In Japan, it's not like sports. Go is, and he said he kept switching between the words art and culture, and he wasn't really sure which one it is. And they're probably more intertwined than anything else. But I'll use the word art. Like Go is art. And the Japanese in particular have this idea, this thing called the hand of God. Have you heard this expression before? Anyone know what the hand of God is? To watch Hikaru no Go,
yeah,
right? Come on.
They're actually really vague. They never explained it, which confused me a lot the first time I watched it.
Well, it is a vague concept, right?
It's supposed to be like the ultimate move, right? The move that's like literally divine and the perfect, like the best move you could ever possibly play in a game of Go.
That's right. I think any player who feels like they achieved the most perfect move, there is this resulting satisfaction, this almost Buddhist enlightenment kind of feeling, right? From finding, here's the problem, and then finding the solution, right? The one move that
That makes the board hollow when you slam the stone down.
that's right, heaven.
So my question about that is there a divine move for every position on the board, or do you need a divine game to play?
I think it's up for you to decide. I think the Japanese would tend to they're a little less pragmatic. I think they're more cultural, spiritual about it. So you would need to have the divine game and the divine opponent. I mean, there's a lot of stars that would need to align because obviously, if your opponent has a whole this giant blob of stones here, and you play the one move that captures them all.
It's a great move.
Sure, it's going to be the move that wins you the game, right?
But that would mean that all the moves are the divine move.
Well, exactly. So I mean, that's more my pragmatic view, is that there's always a divine move, and it's just finding it, right? It goes back to that thing.
Well, I meant all of the moves of the game in which the divine move takes place.
Would all be
they'd all
hand
have
of
to
God
be.
moves, right?
Yeah.
I think it's more of like
Somewhat interpreted.
I think
But I mean, the point is that's a Japanese concept, right? That's a way of thinking about the game and looking at the game is you're achieving this higher level plane of existence, thinking, spirituality, intention, something in there, right? Of playing the game of Go. You'd also look at it as a traditional cultural thing too. I think and that has a lot of overlap. We do this because this is what we do, right? Kind of thing. This is just who we are and what we do. Kind of overlaps with some of that spirituality mindset. So the fact that you can look at Go in these two very different ways, is very interesting to me, because there are definitely times where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to think about it, and I'm not going to move until I, fully believe in this move. And it's not necessarily a religious experience, but it is something in that direction. Where the other games where I'm drinking beer with Andrew, and I'm just slapping stones down on the board, and and it has a little bit more of a playful sport, friendly competition. It's more about the players than it is necessarily about.
I reached a higher plane of being in that game. I don't know.
Well, that's why you won, sir. So there are these two different dichotomies, right? And I think at least in the United States, we all ask ourselves, well, why can't it be both? And this is a popular question to ask, Kim Seong-yong, and he said no. It must be one or the other if you wanted to get it Go.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't see the dichotomy.
One or the other of which?
Oh, between the Go as art or Go as sports. So, I don't know.
Well, that's his opinion.
That's his opinion. Well, again, he's that brash commentator. So,
But why
That's
does
just
the
like
have
European
universities devoted to sport?
we have universities devoted to sports too.
Well, not,
Like most.
not officially.
I don't know about that.
I mean, there's glory to be had in competition. It's not.
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I'm sure he's oversimplifying. Again, that's just sort of his personality, but no, I think his point is valid, right? Is that there is this whole other way of playing this game. It's not define the hand of God. That's
Right.
crap,
It's to
right?
beat your opponent.
It's to beat the opponent. That's right. Take home the big prize, get all the chicks, drive the fancy car, beat your opponent. There you go.
I'm still looking for the divine move in StarCraft.
Well, see.
It's a divine reaver drop.
All right, number 7. The Japanese have this character, Shutan. I'm not really sure exactly how to pronounce it, but hand talk. You guys heard of this before? No? Okay. Well, Japanese often refer to the Go as this game, referring to Shutan or hand talk, meaning Go isn't a game, it's a conversation, right? And that's what you're doing. And thinking about Go as a communication rather than a game really helps something, first of all, I really like about it, but also sort of transcends and puts it in this whole other paradigm. Never mind the sports versus art, this dichotomy according to Kim Seong-yong, but this, we're just having a conversation back and forth. And I feel that way a lot in a lot of my games. I probably used to feel a little bit more like that around Wondan, and I think I've moved away from that again. But I think it's still very much there. That you're just talking, right? There's something very, very elegant. Maybe elegant is the right word. Maybe satisfying about having an entire discussion, without saying a word. right? And just sort of feeling the stones and feeling what your opponent wants and feeling what you need and adjusting accordingly. Because that's really what a conversation is, right? Usually when you guys talk about things, you talk about, your self somehow related, wanting to, needing something, or have needed, have wanted, something for yourself or to show the other person, right? That's sort of this person you project yourself helping, moving information in some way, right? And, you don't buy this, Dan?
Well, I buy it, but I think it only works if both players have the Japanese conception of the game.
So
I
So it can
don't
happen
think that's true.
under the right conditions.
I don't.
And or about equal, roughly
No, because
strength.
I think it can happen as long as at least one player is interpreting the game that way. I think this is a way to interpret Go more than anything else. So if my opponent is playing it, he has blood to the death, light everything on fire kind of style Go. We're having a conversation. It's not a very good conversation. Involves a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and this is the type of conversation you can have. Maybe you haven't been in a dysfunctional family enough.
Yeah, but
Right?
well,
You can also
It's
have a
just,
debate
I'm going
with a
to
child.
kill.
I mean, it'll be a fairly one-sided
Yeah,
debate, but
exactly. There's different
both
types
people
of
will have
conversations.
points to make.
That's right. It can be more of a lecture than a conversation sometimes.
no, but if you take the sport version where winning is everything, then the guy isn't claiming that he's making that this is the best move. It's just the one that's more likely for him.
Well,
That's fine, but again, I'm placing the onus on the interpreter side.
And
And I'm saying I really like that Go can be interpreted as a communication between two people. That's something I really like about the game. I'm not saying it happens all the
And
time.
it can't.
He's not saying you have to
Can't
like
be
it that way either.
No, I like it that way.
Again, I was very careful in what I titled today's lecture, what I really like about Go.
Okay.
What I like and how I like it.
That's right. This is completely narcissistic kind of. Number 8. This is something that's really important as far as good games are concerned. This is a little more of a basic quality to almost all good games. And that's that this is a game that you can learn, show progression, and get better at. Every time you learn something and you feel good, or you learn something and you master a new thing, you feel good, right? That projects yourself, your self-confidence and certainly your own self-awareness to a higher plane than it was before. And I think really good games do this. This is not the type of experience you're going to get from like Candyland, right? You guys played Candyland?
Played Candyland.
Yeah, played Candyland.
Drew cards until someone won.
Right. I had a friend in college who was trying to convince me, at least, I'm so good at Candyland. And I'm going, well, you must cheat then. That's my only conclusion. Maybe there's some skill to some cheating. Maybe you can get better at Candyland through
Really? But are you good at
how many orange cards you're able to pocket, double orange cards you can pocket before the game starts. All right, but this is really important to any good game, is that you can show improvement. You can actually get better. You can go through this process where the game keeps on giving because you keep reaching a higher level. There is a very, very simplified, abstracted version of this that's used in a lot of role-playing games. You guys like to play RPGs. What do you do in the traditional RPG?
Level up.
You level up. And this is the game's way of telling you, hey, you're better now, right? You've gained something. In Go, it's of course knowledge-based, and you actually have to earn it. You just don't get to go around and click your mouse 3 times and get a level. So it's a little bit more of a work. You have to put a little more work into it. But this idea, right, of accumulating knowledge, of actually progressing throughout the game and reaching different levels of mastership is really important to a game that you want to treasure for the rest of your life. I'm convinced. Maybe there are people who don't believe this. And my grandmother, loves solitaire. And that's great. And she's played it, now for close to 90 years, But I think she occasionally looks for another game experience every once in a while. Yeah.
I think you can tie this back to the earlier dichotomy thing, but the dichotomy thing, instead of thinking of maybe art, you can think in terms like maybe dancing.
Okay.
You dance, you got a partner.
Yeah.
And, the point is not to crush your partner.
Right. Yeah.
I think you just haven't been dancing.
Yeah. So what happens, you can think in terms of maybe Go players at a congress or something, and everyone's watching, and they're supposed to show what an elegant game they have. And incidentally, one or the other will win.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's a book by William Cobb, Bill Cobb, he used to teach philosophy at, I forgot what school in the Appalachians, but he released a book called Reflections on the Go Board, I think is what it's called.
It was at William and Mary.
William and Mary, thank you. So he's also one of the publishers now for, I think, Slate and Shut. Yeah, is sort of his enterprise. But he wrote this book, basically, it was just a series of articles, but one of which is, I think the article is titled Opponents versus Partners or something. Right, it's just for him and just thinking about the game, Go works better for him at least when you think about it as partners, right, rather than opponents, right? Opponents is that Korean mindset. Partners, I think, is a great term to use. John, you just brought back up, right? Dancing partners. Maybe that more art way of hand-talky Japanese way of playing. But certainly, yeah, this idea of partners is something I like about it.
Consideration, given that this is a human endeavor in this implementation, is that if you constantly crush your opponent, they won't play with you anymore.
No, just give them a stone.
Well,
if you do it insultingly and you make jibes and all that stuff,
sure.
Some people.
I'll keep coming back for more.
Some people that just spurs them on to continue.
I mean, look. Okay, we'll go back to Dan's beloved New York Yankees.
They'll play. They'll keep playing you.
Yankees go around crushing everyone, but other teams still play them. I mean,
Well, they get paid to play them.
They do get paid.
fine.
A higher power decreed that they play each other, though.
But maybe there is room. An honorable mention spot on my list of things I really like about Go. I really do like the fact that it has this really elegant handicap system, right? That you can have two people who are different in strength pick up and start playing. That's honorable mention, number 11. All right, that's number 8. One other point about number 8, even though I say you can keep getting better, we're still getting better as humans playing Go. Like we're actually still, making progress in terms of how we play the game. All at the same time, we also acknowledge that we effectively mastered Go in the 1600s, which I think is a funny dichotomy or funny duality.
Why do people say that? Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Well, we recognize that some of the first true masters of Go, if they were alive today, they would, they'd still be masters today. Start coming like Dosaku in the 1600s, and a couple of hundred years later with Shusaku. Right, we have this history of being really good at this, but still we're improving on it. So it's this very, flexible way, not flexible way, but just flexible system that we're all improving at, not just individually, but communally.
So they think 1600 is when people first attained that level of mastery?
Yeah. Yeah, well, specifically like certain individuals. I wouldn't say people in general, but again, like Dosaku is probably the best example.
Well, that is an argument for calling it a cultural endeavor, and it also, you could say that those individuals were able to attain a certain level of mastery because there was a cultural framework to support it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, there'd be a lot of wasted hours, while they're rebuilding the basic tools they need.
Yeah, I mean, it's we have this tradition, right? I mean, it's this tradition, culture, art, communication. It's bigger than just a game. I think it all sort of tying it together. Bill, you want to?
There's I call it a rumor because I don't know what else it is, that in China, the very oldest found boards were 17 by 17.
Yeah, I've heard that.
yes.
Yeah.
Which implies that humans got bored with a 17
by 17 and expanded.
You think that's most likely, or?
I think it's very possible, yeah. Yeah, that you just sense the greater realm of possibility with a bigger board. I feel that way today. I mean, I think the minute computers do beat us, I'm going to say, okay, let's play on 19 by 19 or 20 by 21. Right? And that happens when deep green or whatever Go computer phone beats the humans.
Deep gray.
Deep gray. Deep, black and white, I guess.
That was like KTS that always played 34 by 34.
37.
Oh, that guy is crazy.
37.
Yeah.
They take forever.
They do.
I've seen the game completed once.
But once computers beat it, that's where I'm going. Yeah, Evan.
So presently, or say in the 1600s or whatever, at what board size do the highest level players get bored playing each other? I mean,
They're still playing it.
if they I mean,
No.
will they play 9 by 9 with each other and go, eh?
Oh, I see.
Well, we still haven't quite solved 9 by 9.
Right.
I think the largest Go board, have we solved 6 by 6? I know we solved 5 by 5. Like that was still that was a couple years ago, so we probably done well on that.
So I think I just had an insight, maybe.
Yeah.
So when it gets to be that people are playing on a 37 by 37, it takes too long. It takes a long time for the game to end. Therefore, then so from that I sort of construe that perhaps, but and it's only a little bit of victory versus defeat. It's in comparison to the actual time and the number of moves. So it's becoming more cultural as the centuries go on.
Yeah.
It could be also a matter that the scope of the game is really a reflection of our own abilities, and to be like analogous to like a pygmy trying to set the world high jump.
Yeah. Where it's that record. We feel the need for advancement, for better or worse, right?
There was, I can't remember his name right now, but there was one Japanese pro that, for fun, would put 4 boards together,
Yeah, I just play on that.
and he never ever lost. Ever.
Sure.
Is that because it's
Yeah. All right, we're on number 9. Do you believe it? Number 9. Number 9 is something that I think I've been trying to teach you guys, actually, I hope. And it's that in a game of Go, at least for me, and something I really like about it, so I can say it, I have emotional attachments and feelings that are evoked by the positions and the stones and the groups that are on the board. They become relatable things for whatever reason. And the whole board as a unit, right, it makes me feel a little bit like it's my body. When my opponent comes over here, I feel like they're actually pressing down on my elbow or something, pick a body part. I feel infringed upon. So this personification, there's probably a better word for it, when you feel like you're something else, when you're embodied within something else, happens to me a lot more in Go than it does any other game.
Still? Thanks for telling us.
They inflict pain. This is why it's good to drink beer while you're playing Go.
Indulge the pain.
So when your opponent does this, you don't go, ow, you go, oh. That's the bottle. So I hope that some of you guys are feeling that, maybe hope is wrong, because Go is filled with pain and desire and unfulfilled needs and wants, but you guys can at least relate to the emotional connection I'm talking to, right? I really like that. That's a very personal thing for me, and I think a lot of other players who've progressed through the queues and dawn levels. I see some head nodding, so I'm going to go with it. All right, number 10.
I know when I play Chinese, it evokes some emotional responses from some people.
Yeah. All right, number 10. And this is one that I deal with a lot. And I deal with at any tournament, I think, is when it comes up most frequently. But Go not as a game against an opponent or with a partner, but really as a game against self. And it's sort of this, Eastern Buddhist, Zen, I don't know, that whole philosophy of, you are the enemy within, right? It's not out here, the enemy's in here. Be it, just the very concrete stuff of getting yourself up in the morning to go to a tournament, or, just, sort of forcing yourself to, study books or study games, to review your games, to think before each move, instead of freaking out and just going, I want to play here! You actually take the time and have the self, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Discipline?
There we go, discipline. The self-discipline to think about the situation, go through your process. There really is this sense of, you not against someone else, but just you versus you. And I think this is true for a lot of things. I don't think this is something that's true just for Go. I think this exists in a lot of other games and sports and things that you do in your daily life. But for me at least, it comes across most directly in Go, partially just because I think Go is perhaps, just because it's one of the more competitive things that I do. I do lots of different things, but this is like one of the more like I win or I lose kind of things. Like even the sports I play tend not to be like you win kind of things. But the fact that you have this end result sort of over your head does put at least me in a different mindset of, I have to bring it, right? I have to draw from someplace that I wouldn't have normally, right? If I just go throughout my daily activities as normal. And I'm going to use this as there's a tournament coming up next weekend. Here, I think on Sunday, the monthly ratings tournament. You all should come. I've been instructed to get you to all come.
We'll be there. We'll be there. You'll be there, right?
I should be actually.
I'll be there.
I think it's good.
But then I'll have to learn the sad, harsh truth about my rating.
No, when you're rating,
Then you'll have to learn the beautiful truth about the long road that lies in front of you. And it's
you learn the beautiful truth of sandbagging. That's what you learn at these tournaments.
Right?
You're selling it.
I'm just saying.
Does it really help to sandbag?
It doesn't help you, but no, I mean, at least not.
Helps your
But here's the thing, right? You've been coming to these classes, you've all obviously improved, right? Your Go playing by tremendous leaps and bounds. So if you go to this tournament and your rating before was, something up here, like 20Q, and you're now like 10Q, oh, you're gonna have a lot of fun games.
You should give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun experience.
Yeah, but
What you're saying is make A before your rating catches up with your ability.
What was that?
Make A before your rating catches up with your ability.
Make aid?
A. Like sunshine.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
The stuff that cows eat.
Hey, moo cow, right. I see.
Tying it all back together.
It all comes back home.
It's cosmic.
So this is a good opportunity anyway for you guys to experience what I'm talking about. If you haven't played in a tournament before and have this sense of putting yourself on the line, especially in this game that we all love and really, really like, you should play in one. And I think the Sunday monthly ratings tournaments are probably the nicest tournament that you can find because A, it's super low key. It's like, I don't even tell you how low key it is, but show it. B, these are all people that live here locally. It's not like a national tournament where you might see those people like once every fortnight. How long's a fortnight? Fortnight's a long time, right?
2 weeks.
Oh, never mind. Four score? Every 4 score?
80 what? Score is not an actual measure of time. It's just a number.
It's a number.
It's not. It has no unit. That's what he's saying.
Every so often. These are people you're going to know and meet on a more regular and play against on a more regular basis. So, local tournaments are really good, especially like the Seattle monthly ratings tournament. So, anything else you want to say about self? This idea of also self. You also develop your own sense of self through playing Go. And I just want to mention one of the Go players who already mentioned, like Go Sagan. I love his style. His style is terrible in some regards.
is he still around?
He's still alive.
Is he alive?
Is he still like consultant?
He's an adorable old man. You should watch the movie The Go.
For $9
Really? Oh, I
pros.
thought he
Is he still like a consultant?
No, he doesn't consult. He's getting a little senile.
Getting too old for that.
Yeah,
Doesn't know everything now.
Yeah, he doesn't know everything.
All right. Well, anyway, just seeing people's sense of personality and self come through in their games, I think Go Sagan, that's really strong. Another one of my favorite players who I think that the personality comes through very directly is Takamiya Masaki. I got to meet a few years ago. It was awesome. But he, do you guys know Takamiya? Is that a name yet for you guys? Not good enough to know Takamiya? I know you know Takamiya.
I'm not good enough.
I've heard of him.
His, he's 9-down professional, won a whole string of tournaments. I think when he started winning tournaments was the 70s.
Yep.
And then he sort of started dancing, like literally, sort of got distracted by a whole bunch of other things in life.
Yeah.
And then came back in the 90s and said, I've learned to dance, and he started winning again.
And he has this completely different style.
Yes, exactly, completely different style. But in the 70s, his personality was, he'd look at the board, and you guys have learned like the 5 basic places on the board you should play, right, in the opening phase, the opening stages, right? So what would they be?
4 corners to center.
You say 4 corners, right? Emphasize the corners and then the sides, and then eventually move out here. And Takamiya would look at the board and he'd look at it and go, "But that's bigger." So he would take this. He wouldn't fight you for the corner. He would just play the outside. You want to see a Takamiya opening? This is good. I think Takamiya is black, if I'm doing this right. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, this is a real game that he played. I don't remember if he came over here next, but I think he kind of did.
He has a phrase that he likes to say if you see any of his lectures. He was at the Congress in 2009, 2010. He says, "Play the move that you want to play." And then it's like, isn't that amazing, guys? Isn't that like really well? But that's what he's doing, and that's why this is an example of what playing the move you want to play looks like.
I don't remember actually how White responds around here, but something like Takamiya ends up somewhere like this.
This is Takamiya?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I don't think I have quite the last. I might be lying on the last 3
close
moves, but definitely like the first 7 or 8 I got.
It's quite something.
Come on, that's great.
That's not territory.
Right.
For white or for black?
Well,
Black.
Well, if you just
Oh, exactly.
some of whites is territory.
No, we're talking about
Exactly,
we're talking
right?
black.
Talking only about
That's
black.
not territory.
Yeah, but Takamiya is like, oh,
Right.
But it's a wall.
you have this.
Sort of.
You know,
I have this. Mine's bigger.
Dominates the board.
he needs a little button nose though. It's
You want that? Is that what you want?
it's too low.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, somewhere around there. No, that's
How
a
about the
third eye.
unibrow? All right. Anyway, the sense of self, right? The sense of personality, the sense of style is something that you develop in your own game, and I think it comes through best. Like I definitely have. I'll say I have a different personality when I play a tournament versus when I play beer go.
You gotta let that real beer go you shine.
I know I do. Beer go. I'm all about just playing moves like that. It's really big. I want it all. Tournament go. I'm much more like this. But anyway, you have to decide and discover that for yourself.
Who did black with the gate? Who won that game?
I think Takamiya did. I think that's why I know it, because it's famous because he won like this. Yeah, I think that's 10. Cool. So hopefully you like Go just as much as I do.
Heck
You
yeah.
like it. Are you heading out, Dan? Yeah. Okay. You guys have some time if you want to play some games. Again, Sunday, tournament. Be here. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Nick.
I don't think you guys have talked to me in a while. That's kind of weird.